Today, we're going to have an amusement park battle of all of the defunct roller coasters that we think are worthy of being in a battle together. Now, this may include some that you guys love, and it may exclude some that you guys loved as well. Today, we're going to be ranking rides that are no longer with us by what we think we would have liked about them. We may not have ridden all of these, but we're going to go based off of airtime, inversions that they offered, uniqueness. Were they a record breaker at the time? Do they have a nostalgic purpose? We're going to go through all of these things and rank a couple of roller coasters around the world that are no longer with us, such as Son of Beast, Vortex, the Dueling Dragons, even Disaster Transport and Volcano the Blast Coaster. So stay tuned and let's find out which defunct roller coaster would have reigned supreme today. Starting off with the Din Corporation wooden coaster Mean Streak, standing at 161 feet tall. First, we're going to get into the uniqueness of this coaster. I, for one, think it's pretty unique. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to give it like a 4 out of 5 on the uniqueness, just because it was on the tip of the peninsula. You would fly through the structure. It did create a unique ride experience despite it lacking in a lot of other areas. How do you feel about that?
It was very unique, and I rode it when it first opened, so it was definitely a unique ride
when it
first opened. And I have to go with, I'm gonna go with a 5 out of a 5.
Okay, so maybe 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5 overall for uniqueness on Mean Streak for us. Now, moving on to the terrain and the environment of it. That kind of, it was what it was. There wasn't much theming to it. There wasn't much to it. No terrain, so we're going to probably go with a 1 out of 5 here.
Yeah, definitely 1 out of 5.
Yeah, 1 out of 5 for Mean Streak. Now, the airtime. Trim on the drop. This is actually going to be our first 0.
Yeah.
This one's going to get a 0 out of 5 for the airtime. Now, the pacing of this is also going to be very low, guys, because it just Neanderthaled around. Now, I liked how it went through the structure. That was cool and unique, but pacing-wise, probably going to be a 1 out of 5 too. It just wasn't very, nothing to it. The forces as well.
Yeah.
Kind of a forceless ride. Trims on the drop and stuff. It just was what it was. It was there.
Yep.
And the thrill level.
Just there. Like, I give it a 1.
Yep. Solid 1 out of 5 for Mean Streak as well. That'll bring Mean Streak's score to a total of
8.5 out of 30.
8.5 out of 30. Yikes, not even a 30%.
Oops.
Next up, we have the Big Dipper at Geauga Lake. Now, going off the uniqueness of it, I think it's a decently unique coaster being built in the 20s.
Well, I think it's a very typical Woody coaster.
Yep, so I gave it a 3, you gave it a
2.
Okay, so terrain and environment, I gave it a 2 there. What did you give it?
I gave it a 2 as well.
All right, how about the airtime?
Airtime, I gave it a 4, actually.
Yeah, me too, just because I love old wooden roller coaster airtime. I don't care if it's airtime centric, it's still really fun.
Exactly.
How about the pacing?
I gave it a 1.
Oh, I gave it like a 3. It was all right.
It lulled at the top of the hills.
Yeah, but that's for 1920s roller coaster, so expected. Forces?
Average.
3?
2.
Oh, okay, I gave it a 3. Now, how about the thrill?
I gave it a 1.
See, I gave it a 3 again because I thought it was interesting, but overall, my score was a little bit higher than hers, so I had it at 19, she had it at 12. Overall, we're going to give it a 15.5 out of 30. Dun, 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 dun. Coming up next, the Son of Beast.
This is the Son of Beast.
Now we need a reincarnate of this ride, but we're not going to get into that right now. Discussing the uniqueness of this ride, I gave it a 5, being a hyper wooden roller coaster with an inversion. What did you give it?
I gave it a 4.
Okay, solid. How about the terrain and the environment?
I gave it a 2.
Yeah, that's what I gave it to as well. How about the airtime on it?
I gave it a 2.
2 as well. That's where I was with it. How about the pacing?
Pacing, I gave it a 2 as well.
I gave that one a 3 there. It wasn't too bad. It does Neanderthal a bit, but it's still pretty cool. How about the forces?
I gave it a 2. I mean, it had helices, but
See, I gave it a 3 because those laterals were probably pretty strong, and the roughness of the ride definitely adds to its character, so definitely feel like there were some forces there. How about the thrill?
I did give it a 3 here.
See, I gave it a 4, just being a Hyper Woody that would have excited me enough to get back on it, even if it was rough and hurt me. So, Overall, my score for it was a 19. What was yours?
I had a 17.
So overall, Son of Beast gets an 18 and a respectful 6th place in this battle of the defunct roller coasters. So coming up in 5th place, 4th place, and 3rd place here, we have a 3-way tie with the Vortex and
Disaster Transport.
Volcano the Blast Coaster. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. We're gonna start with Vortex here. The uniqueness of Vortex, what did you give it?
I gave it a 2, pretty
See,
average.
I gave it a 4. I thought it was pretty cool on that big plot of land. It used the terrain pretty well. That was just my thought. But how about the environment of it, the terrain and environment?
I also gave it a 2.
I gave it a 3 there. Okay, we're disagreeing here. This is quite interesting. How about
Yep.
the airtime?
I did give that a 4 because it was much better than Corkscrews.
See, I gave it a 2 because there wasn't much airtime. It was inversion based. How about the pacing of this ride?
Gave it a 3. It was pretty consistent, but
Yep, that was exactly what I gave it. How about the forces?
Gave it a 4 because it did have several different aspects to it.
I gave it a 3, but I think that's because I don't like the forces that it gave, so maybe I'm just being disingenuous here. And how about the overall thrill?
I gave it a 4 because it is a little bit, I'd say more intense than the Corkscrew.
All right, I gave it a 3. So my overall score was 18. What was yours?
19.
So Vortex gets an 18.5. Moving on to Disaster Transport. This one's kind of controversial because the uniqueness of this ride is a definite 5 for me.
I put it at a 4.
See, that's interesting. How about the environment?
I also put that at a 4.
That's also a 5. The theming of that ride was top notch for a Cedar Fair park. You don't see that anywhere in the chain, so I'm going to dispute that one with you. How about the airtime on one of those little bobsled coasters?
I gave that about a 2.5 just because it had small.
I gave it a
sneaky
1.
house.
I gave it a 1. I didn't, it wasn't for that. How about the pacing?
I gave that a 2.
I gave it a 3. For the forces, I gave that a 2.
I gave that a 3.
Interesting. So we flip-flop there. How about the overall thrill of Disaster Transport?
3.
3 for me as well. Look at that. We agreed. Now, what was your overall score?
18.
See, mine was 19. So Disaster Transport winds up with an 18.5. Moving on to Volcano the Blast Coaster at King's Dominion. The uniqueness of this ride was a definite 5 for me. How about you?
I gave it a 3.
See, blasting out of a volcano. Hi, Chance. Welcome to the video. See, now blasting out of the volcano and everything, that's a 5 out of 5 for me. How about the terrain and the environment?
2.
2? You gave it a 2. Interesting. How about the airtime for this ride?
I also gave that a 2.
A 2 for the airtime? I gave that
Yeah.
a 1. It's an invert, so I thought it wasn't too airtime
Yeah, a
based.
little bit.
But how about the pacing?
3. Pretty average.
Okay, I gave it, 3 as well. How about the forces?
I gave that a 4.
3 for me. I think it's just because I'm being disingenuous and don't like the forces very much.
I don't like them either. But
What about
I
the
took that into
thrill?
account. I gave that a 3.
See, now I gave that one a 4. My total score for Volcano the Blast Coaster was a 20. What was yours?
Mine was 17.
So we come up with about 18.5 there. So there's our 3-way tie for the Battle of the Defunct roller coasters. Heading to Universal's Islands of Adventure, we have Dueling Dragons, Dragon Challenge, Fire and Ice, the blue and red B&M invert coasters with the really unique locking loop. Well, not locking loop, I should say the loop where you guys are both going through simultaneously, where you almost touch feet going through it. Looked like a fantastic ride. We're going to hop into the uniqueness of it. What would you give it?
I gave it a 3.
Solid 3. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I gave that a 5. I thought it was very unique with that loop there, how your feet almost kicked each other. That was pretty cool. How about the terrain and the environment?
I did give that a 4.
I gave that a 5. What about the airtime or the inversions?
I gave that a 2 because I'm not a thrill of it.
Yeah, see, all right, I gave it a 1, but I think that's being disingenuous, guys. I don't like inverts and the forces they throw at you, so I think it would have been a little bit intense and just not too much fun for me.
Right.
How about the pacing?
I gave that a 5.
I gave that a 3. I thought they were pretty intense and they had a decent pace, but again, it just,
I thought their transitions were pretty smooth, though.
Yeah, honestly, okay, I'll give that to you. I might have actually scored that a little higher. How about the forces?
I gave that a 2.
4 for me because I know it was probably likely intense, but that's just me. What about the overall thrill?
I gave that a 4.
You gave that a 4?
I did, just because at the time that was probably an extremely thrilling coaster.
I gave that a 4 as well. I think almost kicking each other's feet would have been really cool.
Yep.
So that's definitely one that's going to be up there. And that's going to slide into our number 2 spot in the battle of defunct roller coasters.
Absolutely.
Now, this may come as a shocker to some of you guys, but we're going to go with
Big Bad Wolf at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
this is actually a surprising one for us, an aero suspended coaster. Looks phenomenal. Let's get into this. How about the uniqueness of this ride?
I gave it a 5.
5 for me as well. How about the terrain and the environment?
I gave that a 5 as well.
Exactly. 5 for me as well. That second drop off into where you almost go into the lake there, that looked fantastic. What about the airtime?
I gave that a 4.
See-
It seemed pretty decent for a suspended.
I'm not gonna lie, I gave that a 1. I think this is where our discrepancy in the scoring starts here. Is it wasn't really airtime based. It was a lot more forces side to side and lateral. So I think that would have been really fun, but
It was, but I did notice that it had a few little
pops going down the
Pops
hills. I'll
for
give
'em.
it to you, but yeah, it
for
definitely
that
wasn't.
type of ride.
Yeah, for that type of ride, sure. But how about the pacing?
I gave that a 5. It was pretty steady and fast.
Yeah, I gave that a 4. Probably should have been a 5. The only reason I gave it a 4 was because of the double lift hills on it, so I did think that kind of cut into it a little bit. But how about the forces?
I gave that a 4.
See, I gave that a 4 as well. It definitely looked like it whipped you side to side. It looked like a fantastic ride.
Yes,
Overall thrill.
I gave that a 4 as well.
4 for me. That was 4 across the board. What was
Yep.
your overall score for it?
I gave it a 27.
I gave it a 22, so we're going to give Big Bad Wolf a 24.5 score
Dun, dun, dun.
overall. None of these coasters got a perfect score. There's a flaw in
Nope.
all of them. There's a
Yep.
reason why they are no longer here with us, but we definitely wanted to do a little battle of the defunct coasters and see what we would have liked to have ridden most. And I'll tell you what, Big Bad Wolf definitely was not on the top of my list prior to this.
No, not at all. Not until I started going through everything and I was like, wow.
Yeah, once you set a parameter for things, you start to realize some of the rides that you really thought you wanted to ride may not have been as fun as you thought, like Son of Beast, for example.
Exactly.
Mean Streak was one that almost everybody knew wasn't too much fun. So
Yeah.
let us know down below, guys. What is your favorite defunct roller coaster? How many of these have you ridden? How would you score these ones that we did? Tell us what you would score differently. Let us know down below. Make sure you like this video. It greatly helps the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you leave that comment. Like we said, we love to discuss this with you guys. And go ahead and subscribe too, because we're definitely pushing towards that 1,000.
Thanks for being a part of this spooky community
And Coaster Ghosting with Ghoster Coasters. We love talking to you guys. Have a great night.